It is Easter weekend. I'm out here in Milton, and today is Clean Co Day. So we're starting an annual tradition today with my son. This is a tradition that I learned with my father back on the farm. Easter weekend is the weekend where the spring officially kicks off. Spring is in the air, the robins are already out, we've already had a few warm days, the trees are budding, and it is time to make sure that we have everything in place for the 1st of May, which in the farming world is typically when the first week of May is when the corn seeds start to go into the ground. So today is our back end day. We're going to be building out our systems, our spreadsheets, our key metrics, identifying what those are, building out a dashboard as well. So let's get on it. Milo just came up with collectively we just came up with a new ringtone. Hey Milton, we're excited to provide boutique, lawn, and garden care on a budget. Boutique on a budget. That's a ringer. So we just sat down here at Starbucks. Typically, with our strategy sessions, we sit down and I'll do like a structured learning with Milo. So today we are covering overhead, the two types of overhead, fixed and variable. We're talking about what are operating costs. We talk about gross margins, labor, cost of goods, things of that nature. I'm also comparing it to agriculture, comparing it to the automotive industry. We're also talking to ChatGPT about it, and we're coming up with our own metrics, so to speak, because this next year, and another thing we'll be talking about today is in terms of accounting, he'll be doing cash accounting this year. So there's cash accounting and there's accrual accounting, two different ways of keeping the books. So those are some of the things that we're working on here to start off our strategy session. We've got 2 hours blocked out before we hit the gym. We are also going to build out our dashboard here, and then we're going to create some content, and we're going to do some final tweaks to his pricing models, and we're going to make a to-do list for next week for his business. So those are our outcomes that we're sitting down here, the intentions that we've set for this 2-hour strategy session. Boom. And I'm wearing my Rangers hat. I'll explain what that means in a different video. This is from South Africa. Okay, so we may end up having to push back the gym because
just dropped this bomb on a customer. Beautiful message. Little sales. Hit him with a little sales, a little selling.
So it's noon. We're just checking in. So our plan was to get clarity on pricing models. That was number 2. So number 1 was to set up the dashboard KPIs and monthly sheets with projections. We still have not gotten to that. Our priority number 3 was to create and publish content and our to-do list for the week. So we've already been creating and publishing a bunch of content. So now, just to check in, it's at 10:30, from 10:30 to 11. We did some structured learning, which I'm going to recap here in just a second, show you what we covered. At 11 o'clock, we worked on strategy, and we filmed and posted that. And 11:45, we're 15 minutes behind schedule for the dashboard rebuild. So here we go. So this is what we got done here so far today. We will start right here because this is where the page started. So our KPIs for our dashboard, we identified what we want are year-to-date gross, month-to-date gross, lifetime value per customer, overhead fixed and variable, cost of goods fixed and variable, gross profit margin. We covered what labor, net, and we talked about EBITDA. We also talked about the hierarchy in terms of these numbers, gross sales,
margin, net profit, and EBITDA.
Yeah, and what those are.
So now down here we have all of our operating variable costs. So ignition to ignition, how long does it take from ignition, so turning off the car, taking the key out, to ignition, putting the key back in, turning on the car. Kilometers spent. So this is sort of really what matters, just ignition in kilometers. And this is a breakdown of the rest of the things that matter. So profit per job, so our direct cost, measuring direct costs, measuring variable overhead, and our goal profit per job, which is obviously going to change depending on the job, but we have a goal profit per job. Time on site, so that's ignition to ignition. Efficiency and consistency, so being able to measure and track our efficiency score, and then seeing is that consistent, and why is there any differences, disruptions in consistency. For example, maybe the customer came out and talked to the crew for 15 minutes, right? That's something we can't really control. It's good to do, creates the relationship, but it's still a cost of our time. So
It's a really good point.
direct cost.
It's a really good point.
And we should also track things like quality score. So back to our operating values over here, which we haven't even talked about. Are we consistent with the way that we operate on each job?
Ooh, side note here, Milo, we need to build into our SOPs that we're gathering testimonials and 5-star reviews as we go.
So it says that the referral worthy feedback loop. So it's a feedback
perfect.
loop.
So you already got that.
On every single job, after we leave the job, the customer has the opportunity to provide feedback, and it also shows how much we care about their feedback, because we genuinely ask them after we come every single time, whether or not it's a big job, cutting the grass, or it's sod installation, whatever it is. Each time they have an opportunity to leave an honest review, honest feedback, tell us what they liked, what they didn't like, and this will help create more reviews and more testimonials per customer, per job. So maybe we don't just get one review per customer.
It's important to harvest the review. Yeah, make that as part of our daily and weekly SOPs. Beautiful. Okay.
And incentivizing it as well, because.
Okay, so we've covered. This is our SOPs for the job. KPIs and SOPs. Well, but this is SOPs here.
There's some SOPs.
There are some SOPs in there. So we're gonna build this now out into a Google Doc dashboard and spreadsheets. So let's take a step back though and talk about the structured learning that we had here today. Okay, so lesson number 1 was overhead and operating costs. With overhead, you have fixed and variable, and then I showed Milo how to break down your operating costs just at a macro level, your gross sales / profit, breaking out your labor and breaking out your cost of goods, and then what your gross margin is. That then led to the discussion about how we're going to set up our dashboard. In other words, we were just helping him understand what those different terminologies are. Now, operating values is basically for the brand. These are the always and the nevers. So never criticize, never complain, never condemn, never leave a mess, and never waste. So those are ways of being. Those are lived values at a personal level that extend to the business and to the brand. The always operating values or lived values are do your best, be kind, leave things better than you found them, and the Ohio principle, which is only handle it once. So we talked about that, making sure that we are integrating that into the brand, so the brand is a true representation of us as men, as fathers, as leaders, as entrepreneurs. I shared an example from the automotive industry, and then also, I explained to Milo, and we agree that building $1 million brand, similar to what I'm doing with the Wake Up Co., $100 million brand, Milo's going to be documenting this and sharing this on the major platforms daily.
It's really a $10 million brand. Right now, obviously 10 million is like 10 years down the road. But right now, we're on the 5-year road to $1 million. It'll take less than 5 years, but 5 years, that's the realistic horizon.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so now, then we talked about, actually we haven't talked about this yet, which is Maslow's for business. So we all know Maslow's hierarchy of needs at a human level, but what are the Maslow's hierarchy of needs for the business level? So you've got the 5 levels of the Maslow's hierarchy, but I actually added a foundational level under here, which I'm calling SOPs and social. So everything is built on SOPs and social when it comes to business, okay? Means that you have standard operating procedures that you follow all the time. In business, all frustration is the result of the lack of a system. That comes from Michael Gerber. I learned that lesson the hard way 15 years ago. Social means that we share everything authentically, okay? So the foundation is there. So now what are the physical needs of the business? What are the safety needs of the business? Now that isn't just physical safety, this is the financial safety and security of the business as well. Belonging, where do we fit into the community? And who are our customers in the sense of belonging that they have, that we meet as a brand. Esteem is the accomplishments, the goals of the business, the 3-year path to 100 to $1 million. And then the self-actualization, how are we growing as human beings, as fathers, as men, as husbands, as entrepreneurs, as business leaders in the community, whilst building the brand? Because you really cannot separate the business from the individual if you're building a proper brand. So there's that, and then here is just a breakdown of the brand strategy. So you've got Milo Kubisak Inc., which is the holding company. You've got Clean Co., which is the brand. The sub-brands of Clean Co. are Clean Lawns and Landscapes and Clean Snow. Never eat yellow snow. We talked about that. 12 to 36 month strategy is Milo will then be teaching and consulting, coaching, etc. others on how to build a brand just like he's building.
That's
Milo,
great.
any thoughts?
No, that's everything we described. Don't eat.
Yeah, don't eat yellow snow is the big takeaway from the last video. So what we've also agreed on is Sops to $1 million brand is we've agreed that every Saturday we're going to come here to Starbucks. We've already blocked it into our calendars from 9 to 1, working on the business. Now that's obviously weather dependent. If that means that I'm out in the field getting dirty with Milo, that's so be it. But every Saturday, as able, record with the Sony. We're recording long form so that we'll put out a weekly YouTube video as well. And followed by the gym. So that plus doing our social. And then Milo, do you want to talk about the daily?
Yeah, so just recording myself every day, getting in the habit of recording myself, whether I post it or not, telling the story of how I'm progressing throughout the day, the journey to building them.
You'll be posting it.
Yeah, for sure. But when I'm working every single day, I'll do my best.
You post it as you go.
For sure.
Just that's why we're like, it's a pain in the butt, but from my experience, if you don't post it while you're doing it, chances are it'll never get posted.
Lines should be separating everything, and it's just important to have everything planned out beforehand and not waste time.
So here we're going to now wireframe out the dashboard for the sheets, because like Milo was just saying to that camera, if you don't have a plan going into it, you're going to go down all sorts of different rabbit holes because there's a million different ways to skin a cat, and we have limited time here. We're supposed to be hitting the gym in 15 minutes, and it's amazing what you can get done in 15 minutes, isn't it, Milo, when you're focused? Boom. Okay, so we are still trying to build up this dashboard here, but we just got talking about how the Clean Co is different than any other landscape and lawn service company.
The reason
we
we're
leave.
different, we think about.
Let me just
think about things that other people don't really think about. So, for example, when we're cutting your grass and we're coming on and off your sidewalk with our mower, a lot of times the mower will leave green pieces of grass from the wheels stuck on the sidewalk, and also string trimmers can damage fences, can damage the paint on the foundation of your house, and leave lots of debris everywhere. We're thinking about, how do we come on your property from ignition to ignition and leaving as little mess as possible. Not only leaving as little mess as possible, but also leaving the house and all of the walkways in better condition than we found them. And
well, this goes back.
Yeah,
this goes back to the name of the company, the Clean Co. So, Mr. Clean, like the mission of the company is to create clean spaces so that families can flourish. And in the lawn and landscape season or the snow season, what we want to do is take things to the next level where, so for example, when you hire us to cut the grass, it's more than just cutting your grass. We're going to make sure your trash is taken out, recycling is taken out, make sure that your yard is tidied up for that weekend barbecue, that we leave things in a clean and tidy and an organized way that is way over and above just cutting the grass. So you're getting a lot more with the Clean Co than just your
Customers
grass
don't
cut.
realize that either. That portion of the reputation just hasn't been built yet. It hasn't been established. We haven't been in business long enough, and they don't realize that the price they're paying, they'll get that. And some customers just want the lowest and the cheapest price, and we can't provide that service at $35 a cut, which is what our competitors are offering for 1,000 square feet. We have to charge $50 a cut, because then we include things like pulling weeds from garden beds when we show up. We include things like blowing off hard surfaces and making sure all the edges of the lawn are straight and cut very nicely with lots of attention to detail, and they're not cut in jagged or ugly ways where you can tell the grass is not being taken care of very well. Making sure the grass is always cut at the same exact height every single time we come, and cleaning out grass clippings out of rock beds and mulch beds and things like this. I know myself personally, because I was the Joe Schmo with the truck. They don't care about that. They just want to get the job done as quickly as possible so they can move on to the next one. And the customer just wants their grass to be cut. So it's a specific kind of customer who appreciates quality work and is willing to pay $10, $15 more for the 200-300% additional effort that we're putting in.
But if you really think about it, it doesn't cost more, because if you buy 10 cuts, you get the 11th cut free. So you're actually not paying more, and you're getting a lot more service. So for example, if you've got kids and they leave toys, they leave balls around, we're going to leave the yard organized as well. So you're getting a lot more for your money, and like we say, boutique on a budget.
Buy 20 cuts, get 5% off, and also get fertilizing for the entire season. That's up to 5 applications.
Yeah, so free fertilizer, and buy 10 get one free, buy 20, get an extra 5%, free fertilizer. Look, you're actually not paying more, but again, some people, they're too nearsighted to see that. They're just not our customers. 4:15, we just got back from the gym, little sauna session there. Got a lead, came in while we were out on the website. Gentleman wants us to do a full cleanup, wants a quote, so we're gonna go over there, do a quote. Milo's in the shower quick, just making up a little ground beef, farm fresh eggs, spinach and onion scramble here for the gains.